Well, the main challenges really, from our point of view, have been that the rules aren't particularly different. So we've had to sort of evolve last year's car, which we thought was quite a good car. So I think we've managed to, from a challenging start to the off season, if you like, we've managed to make some progress. Once we found some areas that were sensitive on the car that we could really play some games with, we managed to make some real progress. I think in terms of gains, we're hoping to sort of evolve throughout the whole season. We always do tend to make some advances. I mean, one of the things you can do is to look at what the competitors have done over the winter, to see whether they've made any gains in areas where we think we haven't looked at. So that's something we can look at, and we've got plenty of our own ideas after our research over the winter, so we'll be focusing on those and seeing how we can push those forward. Well, I think teams will be looking for improvements all over the car. They'll be looking for, because the rules are evolutionary, as we've said, I think we'll be looking at every aspect of the aerodynamics of the car and seeing whether we can get small gains out of it. I mean, everything has the opportunity to give you more downforce, more performance, so it's just a question of attacking every part of the car and seeing what you can find from it. Well, the regulation changes for 2015 are little, to be honest. There are two main areas where we've had to really adapt the way we work. One of them is that the regulations in terms of how we're restricted from our tunnel and CFD running have changed for this year, so we're even more restricted than we were in 2014. And then the other aspect of it is that the nose regulations have changed in terms of the crash box and the heights and areas that we're allowed to achieve there. So they have played a fairly big factor in how we've approached the aerodynamics, particularly at the front end of the car. And then obviously the restrictions have meant that we have to be smarter and cleverer about how we do our testing in the first place. Yes, I think, it'll be very difficult to tell the difference, in all honesty, between last year's cars and this year's cars. But in terms of how the cars have changed since 2014, I think the most obvious thing will be the nose regulations. I think they were somewhat controversial in 2014, and with the new nose regulations coming into effect, I think we'll see that they are perhaps not quite as ugly as they were last year. But it does have a fairly profound effect on the aerodynamics of the front of the car and also how that then behaves at the rear of the car. So we've had to change our approach slightly on how we go about exploiting that. Well, pre-season testing in 2014 was quite tough for us. I think that's been fairly well publicised. But we're really hoping for a clean 3 test sessions before 2015 season. I think it's very important from the point of view of the team to get to understand the new car, and also to get the feeling of the reliability, and also if there's any problems, especially from our point of view on the aerodynamic side, to see whether there are any problems that we need to address going into the first races. And we can, provided we see them early enough, we can affect them and we can make those changes. I'd very much like us to do better than we did in 2014 in terms of the points. I think we can look to develop on our car from 2014. I think we can look to win more races. I think we've got a good chassis, we've got a good basis, and we can develop hard through the year and be fighting for those race wins. I do think Mercedes are going to be strong, but honestly, I think we've got the team in place and the ideas behind us to generate a package that will compete with them. Well, the driver lineup is quite important from our point of view as aerodynamicists, because we rely very heavily on the feedback that the drivers give us. And obviously, Sebastian was very good at giving feedback. He'd been around the team for a long time, and he knew how to give the kind of feedback that we wanted. But equally, Daniel's now seen the way that we worked, and he's worked with our senior technical team as well. And we know him, and he knows how we like to receive information and how to push the car forward for him. I mean, obviously, we have 2 fairly young drivers, but I've been impressed with both of them, how professional they are at such an early age, and they've demonstrated they're extremely quick as well. So I think we're very positive about using them in the year ahead. Well, obviously, Adrian has changed his role slightly within the team. And we've used that as an opportunity to make sure that we as a department and also as a senior technical group are more self-sufficient in the way that we go about designing the car and managing the groups within the company. We've done that throughout 2014, and we're now sort of at the stage where we can be more self-sufficient. But to be honest, Adrian is still very heavily involved. And the reason I think it works, and the reason the transition has been so good, is that we're all used to working the way that Adrian does. You know, we follow his philosophy and his way of working. So when he is around and when he is having an input into our discussions, then it feels very natural.